Okay, it seems that I'm live. I just wanted to come in here tonight. I don't know if anybody will join me, and I only have a couple of minutes. So I thought I would just talk to you briefly about ego, separation, and the quest for completeness. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, when we come together, first of all, when we're born into this world, there is a separation from the whole that we experience coming into the physical. We are individuals. We come into this world as individuals, and we are outfitted with an ego. And that ego has different aspects to it, specifically shadow aspects or aspects of ego that might be perceived as negative attributes. And there's also the light side of ego, which is um, bringing your flavor, bringing your essences forward, bringing the flavor of your individuality to the world, and specifically to relationship that you decide to embark on with a partner. Now, partner relationships are really interesting because there's a certain amount of death of the ego that's required in order to have a really healthy relationship. On the flip side, if there's a true death of the ego, there's a death of individuality, and individuals tend to wither on the vine when they cannot show up as themselves. They cannot show up as the individuals that they are. So there is this dance within relationships where we want to be seen and acknowledged for who we are, and yet we can adopt behavior patterns that actually hurt the relationship because they insist on it being my way. Worst case scenario would be my way or the highway. Sometimes you have very extreme personalities inside relationships, and there's like this line that's established, and it's like, well, it has to be this way, or I can't be in this relationship. And no relationship is going to thrive underneath that kind of a directive, under that kind of an energy. Relationships thrive when there's a respect for the individuality of the individuals, and there's also a supreme respect for the wholeness of the unity, of the union of the partners. And so that that unity, that union is like a small sampling of God. Yes, a small sampling of God. At its best, a relationship probably approximates uh, a giving up of the negative ego in order to step into the light and bathe in the light of a very elevated relationship energy that creates a wholeness, the wholeness that we leave when we come to the earth. When we're born, there is a leaving of the wholeness. We are an individual. And it's like we spend most of our lives seeking to reconnect with the whole of God. A relationship is a small, kind of like a small, um, not an example, but it's a model. It's a small model of what a completeness of energy is available to us. That's very similar to the completeness that we feel when we feel the loving arms of God. And so when you're in a relationship and egos are inflamed, um, and you have negative egos going back and forth like a ping pong match, you're not moving closer to wholeness. You're moving farther from wholeness. The light side of the ego, the one that you stepping into the light, the most elevated energy of ego that you have, it it says, I own all of these parts of me that I am, and I seek to only express the ones that elevate my relationship to wholeness, to true connection and wholeness. There are times when the shadow side of the ego will kick in, and a lot of times they're just triggers. A lot of times they don't actually have much to do with the relationship itself, but more with that behavior of the other person or the feeling that the one partner gets that triggers the shadow side. That feeling can be investigated. You can get to the bottom, so to speak, of why that's a trigger, and then you can put that trigger down. You don't have to drag the darkness or the shadow of the ego into the relationship. You can create a really, really full, a very robust, a very loving, a very complete relationship. But it's understanding that when you go into the shadow, you're seeking to separate yourself from your partner and ultimately from the ideal, from the vision that you have for the relationship. And so it becomes responsibility of the partners to figure out why is there this need for me to retreat, or why is there this need for me to separate and individuate. Individuate is a very interesting word, because as an individual, that's a beautiful thing. Individuality is a beautiful thing. But when you individuate, you purposely withdraw yourself and set yourself up as a separate entity. Sometimes it's just a shadow of unresolved energy, unresolved charge that you have from maybe growing up. Maybe you were in a situation where um, individuating was what you did to survive, or what you perceived was needed to survive. There's lots of things that will come up inside a relationship, a lot of personal issues, a lot of opportunities on a personal level to get to the bottom of them, clear them up. And as soon as you clear them up, there's just light streaming through you. And you get to the point where you just really notice when a shadow moves in. So I'm getting ready to get on a call, and I just wanted to stop in and give that little bit. I was working on a project today, and that was kind of the theme. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit of insight. If it confused you, or you um, even had questions, or maybe even disagreement, please comment below. Make sure that you hit replay, tag, hashtag replay, so I know you were here. And I do go through the comments and I review things. So have an incredibly great rest of your day, whenever it is that you're watching this. And I look forward to getting your comments.